promoting a healthy environment. It's the air we breathe, clean, safe water, responsible management of our natural resources. We protect and restore for a sustainable future. Environment matters.
The numbers are staggering. Every year, 35 million tons of food ends up in American landfills. Environmental impacts aside, we'll look at the human cost of all that wasted food. Plus,
this is exactly a food desert. Where this park is located, there is not a grocery store even within walking distance of this area. So it is a significant problem, not only for the neighborhood, but for our students on campus.
but a new community garden project in Fairmont looks to address that problem. Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Environment Matters. I'm Greg Adolphson with the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. As we enter the holiday season, it's a time for family gatherings and feast. But as we mentioned earlier, a lot of what's meant for the dinner table ultimately ends up in the trash. According to the US EPA, food waste makes up more than 1/5 of the nation's garbage, and the percentage has been growing for the last 25 years. Aside from the environmental costs, the real impact of all that wasted food comes when you consider the problem of worldwide hunger. According to one study, roughly 1 in 9 people don't get enough food. And it's not just a problem in third world countries. According to the most recent study, roughly 14% of US families experienced food insecurity at some time during the year. Food insecurity means households that were uncertain of having food, unable to acquire enough food to meet the needs of all their family members. The DEP's Sarah Sharp joins us now with a look at how that hits here at home.
Greg, the number here in West Virginia is slightly higher than the national average, 14.4%, but there are ways we can all help reduce that number.
Just truck after truck after truck filled with garbage. I could sit there all day long, and every time I see that, it's just phenomenally amazing. You cannot imagine the amount of garbage that comes in to a landfill.
A parade of garbage trucks cycles in and out of the Raleigh County Solid Waste Authority landfill on this snowy winter afternoon. A bulldozer moves back and forth to compact the trash as hundreds of birds pick through the scraps. According to US EPA estimates, about 35 million tons of food waste ends up in landfills across the country every year, releasing methane, a powerful greenhouse gas as it decomposes. Tanya Patton is an environmental educator for the Solid Waste Authority and former kindergarten teacher who sees beyond the environmental impacts of all that waste.
When you teach school, you see students, and you know that sometimes Friday at lunch is the last meal they're going to have until Monday back at school at breakfast. And so it really, really bothers me to see food wasted. There's not much of an excuse anymore. You can cook single servings, you can freeze things, you can put things away in a fashion that you can get them back out and not have to throw food away. There's just no excuse for that, I don't think.
According to some studies, roughly half the food produced in this country never makes it to the table. When you factor in the costs of growing it, harvesting it, transporting it, and preparing it, it represents a substantial chunk of resources. If you put a dollar figure on it, it adds up to more than $160 billion a year in the US alone. To put it another way, that's 141 trillion calories going to waste. Calories that could help sustain hungry families.
Oh my gosh, we serve 17 counties out of this food bank. 4 of the counties that we serve are statistically the poorest in this country. I mean, the volume of need in these counties in particular is it's very difficult to meet that need on a regular basis.
At the Facing Hunger Food Bank in Huntington, it's another busy day at the loading dock.
As soon as it comes in, it goes right back out. We just brought in, like I said, 30,000 pounds of food this afternoon from Walmart. It is all but 3 totes there gone. In the course of an hour in this past week, my guys moved 155,000 pounds of food. So that's like, 73 tons. That's a huge volume. This year, we will have received and distributed over 6 million pounds of food. And we're a small food bank.
The food bank partners with several large national retailers like Kroger and Walmart, which make large donations of perishable items, as well as smaller local businesses and producers. But organizers say individuals and groups can also help.
It really breaks my heart, because I know that maybe we haven't provided enough education to people to understand that before it gets to that point where it's being wasted, that we could benefit from it. Sometimes it's really people don't think that way, that, well, I could donate it to the food bank. Again, all of our food isn't always in, impeccable condition, but a lot of it could be salvaged. Out of one box of tomatoes, maybe 4 or 5 would be bad, but maybe there's a lot that's really good and could be used, because we have such immediacy. Even if it's really ripe, today and tomorrow would still be good and could be of benefit to someone.
The folks at the food bank say less than 0.5% of what they take in is lost to waste. That's compared to the 40% or so wasted by the average household. Reducing food waste starts with you, and there are several simple things you can do to cut down on the amount of food that ends up in the trash. Shop your refrigerator first. Cook and eat what you already have before buying more. Plan your meals and make a shopping list. By only purchasing things you need for the coming week, you lower the chance of something ending up not used and going to waste. Buy only what you realistically need and will use. Buying foods in bulk only saves money if you're able to use the food before it spoils. Freeze, preserve, can or donate surplus fruits and vegetables, especially abundant seasonal produce. And finally, compost your food scraps rather than throwing them in the trash. Greg, there are more than 130 different food pantries operating in West Virginia alone. To find one in your area, you can check out the website foodpantries.org and search for one in your area. They'll be more than happy to accept your help. For Environment Matters, I'm Sarah Sharp.
Thanks, Sarah. Providing healthy food to an underserved community is the goal of a new community garden project in Fairmont. The DEP's Mike Huff has the details.
The harvest is over for this season, but organizers at this community garden in Fairmont can't wait for next year's growing season to start. The garden is located on some old tennis courts that hadn't been used for years. It's a collaboration between Fairmont State University, the city, and local volunteers.
The project got started in April of 2014. I had a group of students that I asked to identify the biggest health or safety issue in or around campus. And the students identified 3 health problems. And the one that we decided to work on this year was the lack of affordable fruits and vegetables close to campus.
That project led to a $25,000 grant from Ford that will help pay for, among other things, a bridge to tie the community garden to an existing trail system and a neighboring city park. Even though it's still in the planning stages, it's already showing results.
What we've noticed so far is just people are kind of just taking the community back. This was a long forgotten, underutilized piece of property, and so not only are people coming back and using it, but there's a learning atmosphere here.
The garden also provides some much-needed growing space in the neighborhood.
Don't have much land for the community to grow on, especially within the city of Fairmont. They don't have a whole lot of property with their houses, so this gives them an opportunity to be able to grow and just see what it takes to grow something from the seed all the way up to where you're eventually eating it on your dinner plate, or just to can something.
Where this park is located, there is not a grocery store even within walking distance of this area. So it is a significant problem, not only for the neighborhood, but for our students on campus. We hope to address that in a few different ways. One is to get people really involved in growing their own foods. But the second way is to be able to donate the foods that community groups grow and donate that to our local food pantries.
And there's an educational component as well. Engineering students will help design the bridge and a sustainable water collection system for the garden.
The idea that students are engaged in a hands-on activity. It gives them an opportunity to see that it's not just what's in the classroom being taught from, a a math, calculus, engineering aspect, but there's a whole system within that that requires a level of project management, looking at resources, working with people, collaborating, finding vendors, dealing with parts, pieces, materials, putting all those things together, and then kind of trying to organize the whole big package to make it and meet an objective.
But more than just a construction project, it's all about building community.
I think reconnecting people to where the food really comes from, and a sense of community and friendship. I've made several friends just being a part of the garden, not just being the organizer, but being a part of it. I think that's a wonderful benefit, to connect us all. And then it's wonderful to see how encouraged and grateful the kids are to learn that they can do something, they can grow something, and that they can eat it too.
The garden currently has about 24 raised beds with room for lots more. Thanks to the success from this past season, and with the addition of the grant money, they plan to double that this spring. In Fairmont, I'm Mike Huff for Environment Matters.
Fairmont State was just one of 10 winners in the Ford College Community Challenge nationally, and the only one in West Virginia. Project coordinators say they hope this is the first step in the continued community revitalization in and around campus. Coming up, November 15th was West Virginia Recycles Day. We'll take a look at some of the activities from around the state. Plus,
we really look forward to it every year because there are so many unique opportunities to intermix fashion and recycling into one event.
Recycling Refashion. We'll check out the styles at this year's West Virginia Refashion Show, including one project that was years in the making. Those stories and more when Environment Matters continues.